had finally accomplished my dream of being a professional athlete at the highest level. My mood, my emotions didn't reflect this perfect life that I had suddenly been given. This was the hardest challenge that I had faced to this point. It definitely got to me mentally.
My name is Schuyler DeBree. I'm a professional soccer player for the North Carolina Courage. Grew up in New Jersey in Fairhaven, which is a small little town, kind of a bubble, but a great place to grow up. Grew up with my two parents, mom and dad, and a younger brother, Emmett. And it was pretty idyllic. It was a really innocent childhood, lots of sports, lots of good friends. My dad put turf in our garage, and it was definitely my happy place. Be able to just focus on being in the moment with a soccer ball has definitely been a freeing thing for me for most of my life. Like 7th grade, 6th grade, it was clear that I was better than the average player in my area at least. And I think every time I stepped up a level, I still found that I could hang with everyone there and be one of the better players on the field. So I think it always felt like it was kind of a normal progression to eventually play in college.
Women's college soccer at number 6, it's Duke taking on Boston College. And look at Schuyler DeBree. Look where she kicked this free kick from. Midfield.
I wound up getting drafted 11th overall in the 2018 NWSL draft. Kind of a roundabout way, the rain got my rights and I wound up signing a 2-year contract with them. The NWSL is regarded as the best league in the world, top to bottom. So being there really felt like making it as a professional soccer player. And being at the Reign was really the first time that I found myself in like the bottom 5. There were times where I felt like I was slowing down the level of training and making the training environment worse. I think then getting there and not being one of the better players and feeling like maybe I didn't belong there was what really made it difficult, because from the outside it looked like I had it all and had finally made it and had good friends on the team. And I think I was thinking that too. It was like, oh, I finally accomplished this. I should feel great. It felt like a massive gap.
I knew that I had a family history of some mental health issues. Really, I had the kind of more intense mental health crisis when I was playing for the Reign, when I started to go to therapists more consistently and really understand firsthand, and then also from professionals, what mental health can really look like. I think it was just a combination of different mental health issues that created a really unique experience where like it just felt like my mind stopped functioning. And it was so confusing because I didn't know what was going on inside my own head and was just really scared and felt like I had no way to communicate it to other people. When you're in a mental health crisis, it's very hard to recognize that irrationality. Like you believe wholeheartedly everything that your mind is telling you. Like for instance, I'd be so like in my own head about not being capable of taking care of myself as a human being that like I would be sitting on the ground and not be able to get myself up to make dinner. And then it becomes equally scary because you're like, if I can't even get up to boil water to make myself pasta, how am I gonna survive, you know? I think a lot of it was fear of failure. I think a lot of people feel like if a coach found out, or if anyone found out that you're not doing well mentally, that no one's gonna trust you to perform on the field. Like there's definitely that pressure there. To keep things to yourself because you want people to trust you in your performance. But a lot of what my thought process was at the time was like, I should be so grateful to be a professional athlete, and therefore I almost don't have a right to be struggling right now. Like my quality of life is amazing. I'm so lucky to get to play soccer. I was just so far down the rabbit hole of being suicidal. Like my brain was so focused and so convinced that that was the only logical conclusion to my story at that point. I found a new psychiatrist who was more focused on cognitive behavioral therapy and was focused on really trying to pick at the lies that I was telling myself and my irrationalities. And my uncle was basically like my live-in therapist. And he was able to, like, throughout the whole day, kind of challenge the narrative that I had built in my head. Today, my mental health is obviously in a much different place than when it was. Medication played a really important role in me getting back to a healthy headspace. I think the most important resources for me are my family and my closest friends who understand me at an incredibly deep level. Mindfulness and meditation has also been an amazing tool for me to just learn to recognize my emotions, recognize my state of being. Yeah, I think I look at soccer in a really different way. I'm much better about separating my sense of self-worth from soccer. During moments in the game, if I make a mistake, I try to focus on the next pass. I try to just focus on my breath and try to stay really present. Mental health can impact absolutely anyone. And I think knowing that it can impact athletes is a great place to start because athletes are so commonly public figures. They are the epitome of strength. So the podcast I've been working on is called The Mental Matchup. It's presented by Morgan's Message, which is an organization focused on athlete mental health. As a podcast, we bring on athletes, mainly athletes, but also some coaches and parents of athletes and other perspectives to share stories about athlete mental health and just try to get a diverse range of experiences to help people understand that they're not alone, destigmatize mental health, and just open up the conversation and the dialogue because it's not happening enough right now. Sometimes I find myself on the podcast talking like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but at the end of the day, I hope that I'm at least encouraging people to be honest, and I think that other people sharing their perspectives and their experiences can only be helpful. I ideally just want to be a safe space for people. The goal is not obviously to say the perfect thing because there is no such thing. I think the goal is to make people feel listened to. It gives me a lot of peace, hoping that my story will provide some evidence for people to have a little shred of faith, even when they feel incredibly hopeless and dark, that there could be some light at the end of the tunnel that they just can't see yet, but they'll still try to keep pushing and finding that light and just try to hang on and keep working and try to find something that will help them get out of whatever spot they're in.